the very exciting community events of our beautiful town of or city of Richmond Hill, I should say now. And thank you again for inviting me actually to speak in this gathering. I see so many friends here, and I'm so grateful to every one of you for taking the time to be here this morning, and also asking what I have been doing since 2018 general election. That is the message actually Margie conveyed to me, saying that we follow you on Facebook and social media, but friends would like to know what you have been doing. You know, since not last, actually 2 years ago, June 2018 election, when I passed on the torch to my longtime and a very good friend, Daisy Way, the political torch, I have been really busy more or less as usual. Sometimes I remember a phrase put forward to me by Mayor John Tory after, I think it was 2009 by-election, when he lost the election, and of course he was the leader of the Conservative Party at that time, and he had to resign, or he resigned from the leadership of the party. So I saw him a couple of months after that, and we just chatting, and I asked him, I said, how are you doing, John? So he paused for a second and he told me, you know, Reza, there is a life after politics. And I always remember that. And he is right. There is a life after politics. So since I left politics in June 2018, speaking of traveling, actually I traveled quite a bit in 2018, the remaining of 2018 and 2019. I went to Turkey, to Istanbul. I was invited to speak as a guest speaker or keynote speaker at the World Energy Congress in Istanbul. And then I was invited to, and also I had a chance to meet with a number of Turkish ministers at that conference. And then I was invited to visit Pakistan to be again guest speaker at the world's, what they call it, Islam Leaders of Islamabad. That's the name of the conference. So that was very exciting. And my wife Pari, actually, she joined me in that trip as well. We both very much enjoyed visiting Islamabad and Lahore, and not Lahore actually, Karachi. And I had the chance to meet with the Pakistani Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Prime Minister, and their Chief of Staff for the military forces, and a number of other high-ranking officials. And then I was invited to visit Shandong province in China. I was there actually twice, again being a guest speaker in one of the conferences. And while I was there, I was asked to visit the Shandong Normal University, where they made me an honorary adjunct professor. So that was nice. And then I was invited to attend an innovation competition meeting or event in Shenzhen, where they invite innovative companies from all over the world, and they asked me to act as a judge there, which I acted as a judge, and then unfortunately one of the Canadian startup companies became the top winner of that international competition. And later on, Shenzhen government in China, they asked me to act, or actually they appointed me as the senior something advisor on innovation economy to the government of the municipality of Shenzhen in China. Then I was invited to attend a similar conference in Cambodia, where I met with the Minister of Energy of Cambodia, and we discussed the possibility of setting up maybe, or establishing, or running a nuclear power plant, a Canadian technology in that country. So I traveled quite a bit in 2018 and 19, and as one of my former colleagues now, who is the leader of the Liberal Party, Stephen Del Duca, he mentioned to me that he said, Reza, you traveled now more than when you were a minister. But that was actually more or less true. So, and then of course, I've been asked by a few community groups to join them as a volunteer, which I accepted actually. And one of them was an organization called Sci Innovation. Now, I'm working there as a volunteer on their advisory board. And this organization, which has been established by a number of Canadians from Chinese origin, they try to identify the leading startup innovation companies in various sectors of industry, and promote them and connect them with the investors around the world, and mainly with China. So that is one thing I'm doing, and I've been involved. The other one is Munshang Foundation. I'm sure everybody knows Munshang Foundation because they have one of their major sites is in Richmond Hill. It's a great organization established almost 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago in Toronto. They have 5 sites in Richmond Hill, Scarborough, Markham, Toronto, and currently they are building a very interesting site in Stouffville. And their job is mainly to look after seniors. They have seniors homes and long-term homes, and they're very, very interesting and really a very good organization. They appointed me as honorary governor of this organization, which was really an honor to be on that board and try to help a bit this wonderful organization who are looking after our seniors and the elderly. Then I was asked to join the board of governors of the Radiation Safety Institute of Canada as their chair of the board. Now, this organization looks after radiation protection and radiation safety in the workplace. It was created in Elliott Lake, Ontario, actually about 40 years ago by a person, Dr. Frank Jubin, who was the founder of Elliott Lake uranium deposits. But on those days, there were not much protection for miners. As a result, about 200 or more uranium miners, they died of lung cancer. So this organization was established to look after health and safety of workers in the nuclear industry. Now, I used to work actually for this organization before joining politics. I was their chief scientist and vice president before joining politics. So they asked me to join the board of governors as the chair, and I accepted. So I'm involved with them as well. And later, somebody or 2 people actually, that they nominated me for as a senior fellow at Massey College, University of Toronto. So apparently this went through very well, and now I can call myself as senior fellow at Massey College, University of Toronto. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I believe Massey College, which is one of the graduate college of University of Toronto, is mainly its work, I believe, apart from being a residence, but also they provide mentorship mainly for graduate students at the University of Toronto. So I hope that I'll be useful for our young people in that capacity in coming months and years. Then recently, the University of York University's Faculty of Sciences Dean actually called me, and he said, you know, our school or faculty is one of the leading science faculties in Canada. And I was involved with York University since I was, you know, I was MPP and then of course Minister for Universities and Colleges. And I had something to do with the establishment of York University campus in Markham. So I had that connection. Of course, I had connections with almost every university in the province, with York as well. So anyway, they asked me to be on the advisory board of the deans. They call it Dean's Advisory Board, and they asked me to chair that board. And the function of that board, as I understand, is to meet at least twice a year. A number of people, they represent various sectors of society and industry on that board, to give advice to the dean how they can improve the quality of education, how they can train students in response of the demand of the country, of the society in various areas and various sectors. So that is another volunteer job or pro bono job I have now. The other organization I'm involved is an organization called Yara Leadership Society. This is a women's organization within the Iranian community, and their function is just to promote mentorship for women and for young ladies within the Iranian society. And recently, they invited the former Minister of Women's Affairs under the previous regime, who was one of the scholars really in that field, and she lives in the US. Apparently, when she was appointed during the Shah's time, the previous regime, as Minister of Women's Affairs in Iran, I learned that there were only two such ministries in the world. The one was in Iran, the other one was in France. So that was very exciting that, you know, on those days, in contrast to what's happening now in my country of birth, but on those days, there was much attention to the women's affairs by the government. So I'm working as a volunteer again on the advisory board of that organization. And every year they organize events and conferences, congresses, and now, you know, seminars inviting leading the Iranian women to come and speak in the conferences. I'm also on the board of another organization. This time it's called Outstanding Teenagers Leadership Foundation. I am there as a mentor for young Canadians. This organization was established by a few Canadians, again from Chinese background, and their aim is to provide mentorship for young Canadians. So I'm also active in that organization as well. And mainly what we're doing is just, you know, speaking to the students or trying to find speakers to come and speak at their events, so that these young teenagers, they will connect with adults and see what will be the future for them in the world when they grow up, and what are the opportunities our society, our wonderful country offers to them. Now, the other pro bono work I've been doing I've been doing this for many years since I was in Canada and before, is working on human rights issues in relation to mainly, again, to my country of birth, Iran. The most notable events in the past almost a year was when there was a massacre on many streets in Iran. About several thousand people massacred by the regime. I was the one who called for a demonstration at Mir Lasman Square, where thousands of Iranians gathered and protested against that massacre. And later in June, this was in the last November 2019. And in June 8, when the, again, Iranian regime brought down by firing 2 missiles to the Ukrainian airlines and killed 176 innocent people, including 56 Canadians. Again, I called for a vigil at Mir Lasman Square. And
yeah, I have a super.
Okay, I'll wait for.
Yeah.
Okay, now Roger's
I
unmute now. So yeah, on that day, again, I called for a demonstration, a vigil at Mir Lasman Square. About 3,000 people, they gathered. So, you know, I think it was January 11 or around that time. Very cold weather, you can imagine January Toronto weather. And the Mayor Tory was kind enough to there, along with the Minister Mendicino and about, I think, 16, 17 federal, provincial, and municipal colleagues, or former colleagues, I should say, including Councillor Godwin Chan was there, and my good friend Daisy Wei was there, and many others. So we gathered there just to show our sympathy and also our anger to the Iranian regime for killing innocent people. Just recently, again, the regime wanted to execute 3 young boys who were caught during those demonstrations in November, demonstrations in Tehran. And also we organized some demonstrations. So anyway, I'm active in that field as well. On human rights issues. So as you can imagine, I've been active since I left politics. There's a life after politics, and it's always good to see all of you And thank you so much for being here. But another point I want to mention and thank Councillor David West here, Councillor Godwin Chan, Mayor Barrow, and other members of the council for naming a street in our beautiful town of our city of Richmond Hill after my town of my city of birth in Iran as Urmia Avenue, which they did. And this was happened again, I think in 2018, October 12, I believe, when a few members of the community, they organized a tribute dinner at Le Parc Banquet Hall. About 1,000 people showed up in that event, including our councillors and the mayors and the Mayor John Tory, Premier Wynne, and my good friend Michael Parsa, and many others, you know, from political and the non-political community. They were all there, and it was a great surprise to me in that event when I saw Mayor Barrow and Councillor Silivitz, Councillor Godwin Chan, Councillor David West, and former Councillor Vito Spatafora, and several others. They were on the stage and calling me to the stage and giving me that plaque which says Urmia Avenue. So thank you very much to everyone, and again, it was a great pleasure to be here this morning, and thank you, Marge, for inviting me to this event. Thank you.